trying to get you over. You like love sour, then you should come try my poison.
And we're back with another first chapter. I'm Rodney V. Smith. The V is for verdigris, whatever that is. And I'm a Wattpad author and star. I'm also the winner of a Wattie Award in 2018 for my novel The Canefield Killer. It's back there somewhere. Anyway, so I've started this series to feature some of the work on Wattpad that I've enjoyed, or at least heard about from, my friends who are also authors. It tends to happen when you're an author yourself. You meet a lot of writers. So this series is supposed to really put a focus on some of the works that you may or may not have heard of, but I've enjoyed, so I'm going to share. Now, a quick confession about tonight's book. Deborah Goles has been my editor on How Not to Vampire for the past year or so, but it's because she's pretty damn funny that she's such a great editor. So this is why I've also chosen the underrated title, Prince Charming Must Die. Now, this one I've read before, but it's been almost a year, probably, yeah, okay, quite a bit over a year, and I haven't cheated, I haven't peeked at it, so it's going to be like reading it again for the first time, all over again. I promise. The links are in the description below. So, are we ready? Okay, here we go with Prince Charming Must Die. Okay, so this is the synopsis. Prince Charming Must Die is by Brittanie Charmintine. Deborah Goles writes as Brittanie Charmintine on Wattpad, and she chose that name a long time ago. There's a whole interview with her about how she chose it. But this is the synopsis. Marrying Prince Charming was supposed to be the key to Princess Ashley's happily ever after. Instead, the princess finds herself abandoned for months at a time while Charming slays dragons and fights ogres in distant lands. Frustrated and lonely, she invites 6 neighboring royals, 5 princesses and 1 prince, to her kingdom for a week-long gala, hoping to ask for marriage advice. But after a few glasses of chardonnay, the truth comes out. There's only one Prince Charming, and they're all married to him. But as one revenge plot after another fails to expose Charming's lies, Princess Ashley begins to suspect an inside job. Can she uncover and stop the double agent in their midst before revenge slips through their grasp? Or is it her own traitorous feelings for someone new that's ruining their plans? Alright, so here we go for the first chapter of Prince Charming Must Die. I gotta make sure. Okay, so, this one actually starts with a challenge. See, it's been so long since I've actually read this. So, a challenge. Happily ever after is a lie, and one we want to believe. Because if we don't, if there's no hope for the fairy tale princess, then what hope is there for the rest of us? Unknown. You finish the book, running your index finger over the last line on the velvety paper. And they lived happily ever after. It's bittersweet. You're sad to leave the characters you come to love, but happy the princess got her prince. You sigh, imagining the scent of roses filling the cathedral, the heavenly slant of dusty kaleidoscopic light streaming through the stained glass windows. The choir of woodland creatures singing on key while not soiling the priceless antique carpet. The princess' soft lips, barely touching hers at first, then deepening passion. You can almost smell the magic, the magnetic pull. These two were made for each other, after all. This is the kiss that joins the beautiful princess, who has had to overcome a greedy stepmother, evil queen, dragons, poison, spells, witches, and the occasional Bunyan, with her handsome Prince Charming. For that moment, the fairy tale world is right. Your world is right. The plastic book jacket creaks in that familiar way as you close the volume. Then reality descends. Outside the room, your flatmates are fighting. The smell of burnt cinnamon toast wafts through the cracks in the doorframe. There is a mountain of laundry waiting, and even more mountainous pile of homework. You trace your fingers along the smooth, uncomplicated spines of the stack of fairy tale volumes on your bedside table, not quite ready to go back to real life. You select another. But what of the princess in the book you finished? Her story continues without you. Maybe once in a while you think about your old friend, the princess, and imagine her life after the kiss. But you tell yourself happily ever after is forever. You don't need to worry. No one speaks of the story of after until now. Be brave, dear reader, and read on, because once you know the truth, that stories continue even when you're not looking. You'll no longer feel alone. While fairy tale princesses needn't worry about homework or laundry, that doesn't mean they don't have their own mountains to scale. Okay, and that was the little intro there. So now here we go into chapter one. Where has all the magic gone? Sounds familiar. It makes me want to sing a song. Hero. Where have all the good men gone? Okay, yeah. Anyway, I'm thinking Shrek here. So, chapter one. Where has all the good good men? I've ruined it now. Okay, chapter one. Where has all the magic gone? This is dedicated to Crazy Diamond. Something evil lurked in the fairy tale kingdom of Ever After, a mid-sized principality located in an isolated mountain ridge beyond the rainbow and bordering Atlantis. No one knew who was responsible for said lurking, but every so often a ragged child from the village at the foot of the mountain would disappear. Because this was a juicy and mysterious tragedy, people loved to speculate on the cause. Each morning, as the townsfolk fetched their water from the well at the center of town, a torrent of gossip and fear spread from one mouth to the next. Some blamed an evil witch, others insisted it was dragons, sunspots, fairies, gods, trolls, or that time Ivar, the town fool, opened an umbrella indoors. The list goes on and on. Like all kingdoms, someone had to be in charge of stuff and live in the castle and be the profile engraved upon the local currency. In Ever After, that guy was a prince named Charming. Because he was so handsome, the currency of Ever After became as sought after as his large, well manicured hand in marriage. To say Charming was handsome was an understatement, like the sun is warmish or blue whales are largish. How handsome was he, you ask? His eyes were so blue you could drown in them. His jaw so sharp it could cleave your heart in two. His golden brown hair was so lustrous it shone like a beacon, even in the dark. His manparts, which were fairly visible in the tight jodhpurs, fashionable at the time, caused both men and women to faint. There was a lot of grumbling in the Royal Mounted Paramedic Guild because of all the drowning and slicing and fainting, although a few of its members appreciated the overtime. It was as if the heavens contrived to make the ideal man. His only imperfection was the jagged scar of a bite mark on his left hand. Charming never discussed the origin of the injury, which was odd. Most men of the time loved to brag about their battles. They'd compare stars, one-upping each other with tales of the gruesomeness, prowess, and pain involved in earning them. But Charming kept his hidden inside gloves or pockets. Like any single, nearly perfect prince of the age, it was high time he married. But how to find the one? You probably know the last part of the story, but for those who grew up on Jupiter or were raised by Siberian wolves, allow me to refresh your memory. The story of Ashley, aka Cinderella. Once upon a time, there was an orphan girl, Ashley, who worked as a servant to her abominable stepmonster and her two abysmal daughters. Although Ashley was shrilly and consistently ridiculed for being covered in ash from the kitchen fire, she never complained. Her only friends were the bluebirds, mice, and other forest creatures who regularly came to her attic room for cheese and occasional dressmaking. The first time she asked for anything when Prince Charming announced a ball and invited all the maidens of the land. Oh, sorry. Let me read that again. The first time she asked for anything came when Prince Charming announced a ball and invited all the maidens of the land. Ashley's stepmonster said no way. Sooty servants could not attend. It would mortify her to sully the family name. With this pronouncement, Ashley shuffled to the furthest edge of the garden so as to not disturb anyone with her tears, and sat on a decaying log, trying to ignore the sharp splinters embedding themselves in her derriere. But someone heard the quiet sobs. Her fairy godmother. A fairy godmother sounds like something all of us would like to attain, but doing so is difficult. As a matter of fact, there is a checklist for earning a fairy godmother. Potential fairy goddaughters must fulfill at least 7 of the following. 1. Be orphaned. 2. Endure a life of extreme hardship. 3. Never complain. 4. Communicate regularly with forest animals. 5. Sing like an angel. 6. Possess tiny feet. Have great beauty but not know it. 7. Have great beauty but not know it. 8. Run the 100-mile meter. No, sorry. Run 8. Run the 100-meter dash in under 11 seconds in heels. 9. Can pick a lock. 10. Master complete repertoire of ballroom dances despite never having a lesson. Having achieved not just 7, but all 10 of the requirements, Ashley earned herself a short, wrinkly, bent-over, silver-haired, slightly forgetful fairy godmother named Maxine. With her fairy godmother's help, Ashley attended the ball, captivated the prince, and lost a glass slipper running away from him at midnight because that's when the spell went kaput. Oh, and she ended up with terrible blisters. The next day, whilst bandaging her feet, the prince and his retinue showed up at Ashley's house with the missing problematic footwear. For some never explained reason, even though the spell ended at midnight, and the carriage, horses, gown, tiara, footman, and driver went back to their former molecular states, the shoes maintained their magical form. Magic doesn't always follow logic. Even though her stepmonster had locked Ashley in the attic so she could not try on the shoe and marry the prince, our heroine picked the lock, see skill number 9, came downstairs and said, "Hey," to the prince. He asked her to try on the shoe. She pointed to her bandaged foot. "Sorry, Prince Charming, but my foot has blisters on it right now." If you read the original grim version of the fairy tale, you know some women, including her stepsisters, in a desperate ploy to win the prince, cut off their heels and or big toes to fit into the glass slipper, which is why Prince Charming was shocked Ashley wasn't desperate to try it on. That's when he knew she was the one. Guys like a bit of a chase, and women with unnamed feet. Ashley and Charming got married and lived happily ever after. The end. Now that you have the backstory, we can get back to the actual post-wedding adventures of Her Royal Highness, Princess Ashley. Ashley had moved her meager belongings to Cornwall Castle, a size B modern fairy tale palace perched upon a sheer cliff on the highest mountaintop in Ever After. The place was fully loaded with swan-laden ponds, a free-range herd of snowy unicorns, unused dragon stables, sunlit jasmine-wrapped pergola, a dank dungeon, secret magical passageways, and an enchanted indoor heart-shaped jacuzzi with Ed Sheeran love songs playing on an endless loop. Ashley had 2 main issues with castle living. 1. Her stomach twisted into a pretzel of anxiety that she would never get the place straight, and she'd spend the rest of her life being lost in her own home unless she brought along a tour guide every time she needed to eat or bathe. And 2. Its location was so close to the cliff. Its location so close to the cliff didn't help her paralyzing fear of heights. Ashley and Charming had been married for 3 months. Tonight, like most nights, Princess Ashley waited for her prince to return from his longest quest yet, resigned to spending another evening hanging out with the rose wallpaper in the opulent royal bedchamber. If she stared long enough, the roses looked like monsters with fanged mouths and demon eyes. Hey, there was no television yet in the fairy tale realms, so one had to entertain oneself in any way one could. There were few approved activities for a royal princess. As Ashley despised embroidering cushions and was still waiting for the latest issue of Princess Monthly magazine, all she had left was wallpaper gazing. The boredom almost made her nostalgic for the 16 hours a day of hard labor at her stepmonster's house. At least the hours had passed quickly. For once, the balls and the state dinners and her interview with Princess Monthly magazine were over, she had way too much worrying time. Mostly she fretted about how Prince Charming had been gone for nearly a month on his current trip, killing dragons or jousting with turnips or whatever princes did when there weren't attentive husbands. Perhaps his love for her had faded. She had already chewed her fingernails to the quick. much to the chagrin of the royal manicurist. The clock in the distant cathedral chimed midnight, reminding Ashley of that wondrous night when Charming had begged her to stay at the ball. When he wanted her desperately. They'd had a pleasant laugh later when she'd explained that fairy godmother magic dissolved at the stroke of midnight. Upon the 12th bong, Ashley brushed away a lone tear. Of what use were tears? They wouldn't keep her prince at home. She clenched her jaw and shook her golden curled head. It was time to take action, and she knew who to ask for help. All she needed was to bring back the magic. Wow, and that's it for chapter 1 of Prince Charming Must Die. Oh, there are some footnotes on this one. Jodhpurs are tight-fitting trousers, also known as breeches, like horseback riding pants. Next one is, one constant in most Disney movies is an orphan main character. Cinderella became an orphan when her father inconveniently died right after marrying a sociopath. No one mentions her father's role in leaving his daughter with this horrible woman. Maybe he should have done a background check before the wedding. But he thought, here's an attractive woman who can warm my bed. I think I'll marry her so she can take care of my daughter while I'm away on business trips and teach her about womanly stuff so I don't have to. If there's one thing we can rely on, is that men will do almost anything to get out of this conversation. Yeah, I think I agree with that one. Anyway, next one is, there's two more. Next one is, apparently Maxine had been too busy during the previous 18 years of Ashley's life to intervene. I'd like to know what the fairy godmother was up to while the stepmonster and sisters demeaned and mistreated our heroine. Was she collecting teeth, or drinking too much dandelion wine, or eating piles of honey cakes? Whatever it was, Max had ignored her day job, watching over Ashley's miserable life. I point this out because it seems like gross misconduct, which history glosses over. But fear not, dear reader. I will always tell you the truth. To be clear, this is the last one. To be clear, the feet you possess must be the feet you were born with. Please do not cut off someone else's feet. Fairies are too smart to be fooled by imposters. Alright, and that is it for Prince Charming Must Die. You can find more books by Deborah Goles, or also writing as Brittanie Charmintine, on Wattpad. And she's got lots of titles like I'm sorry, I'm blanking here. I'm sorry. Mermaids and the Vampires Who Love Them. And she's got my interstellar romance. Let me just click on here to make sure that I actually say these things correctly. My crazy hot interstellar affair. I always get that one wrong. Anyway, check it out on Wattpad. Brittanie Charmintine, look for Deborah Goles, and is very easy to find. Anyway, that is it for tonight's book. Thanks for joining the read along, and please feel free to subscribe. Leave a link if you liked what you saw, and I guess I'll see you next time. Go and read some books. Go click this one and go read it. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, peace.
My love is like a flower, trying to get you over. You like love sour, then you should come try my